I never expected my brother's cruel words would lead to life-changing moments at his engagement. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I stood there, heart racing, feet numb on the wooden floor of the lavish hall. The scent of roses filled the air. Pretty but suffocating. My hands trembled, clinging to the delicate fabric of my dress. What should be a day of joy twisted into a nightmare before my very eyes. It was supposed to be a celebration. My brother, my best friend, was supposed to marry the love of his life, Emma. She wore a radiant smile that lit up the entire room. But there was a dark cloud hovering over this festivity, and its name was Liam. Why do you even bother to show up? He spat, face twisted with anger. His words hit me like a physical blow. You're not even family anymore. The gasps echoed around us, eyes widened, whispers rippling through the crowd. I felt hot tears sting my eyes. Those words, said so cruelly, shattered something deep inside me. My chest tightened and I struggled for breath. Everyone was looking. The silence was deafening. I had tried to mend things, to be the sister he needed, despite our differences. Growing up, we were inseparable. Our shared laughter, late-night talks, all of it turned sour over time. I never understood what went wrong, but it felt like I was swallowed whole by a darkness I couldn't fight. Stop it, Liam! Someone yelled, a friend stepping in, but I barely registered the voices. Instead, I felt the weight of disbelief settling in. Emma's face reflected confusion, hurt, and an unsettling silence. My heart broke for her too. Would she still want to marry him after this? A tremor of dread coursed through me. Would our family ever feel whole again? Secrets hid behind smiles. Lies lingered in every whisper. I could sense a shift. Something sinister bubbling just beneath the surface. Why did you say that? I whispered, my voice trembling. I wanted to scream, to lash out. Instead, I was frozen in agony. Liam's eyes flickered. They darted away from mine. Filled with guilt, or was it something darker? You don't understand. But I did understand. I could see the lies festering. The love strangled by resentment. If it all ended tonight, what would remain? I turned to the crowd. A sea of anxious faces waiting for the next act in this unexpected tragedy. I needed to know more. What was happening behind those twisted smiles? I was on the verge of uncovering something monumental. But just as I felt my footing shift towards clarity, the engagement ring slipped from Emma's hand and shattered on the ground, sending shards of diamonds scattering across the polished floor. The room collectively gasped, a mix of disbelief and horror. I caught my breath. A chilling realization creeping in. What curse had been set in motion? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stood there utterly paralyzed as Emma knelt to collect the remnants of shattered dreams. The twinkling lights above us felt like distant stars, flickering faintly against the weight of chaos unraveling in the hall. My heart raced, not just for my brother, not just for Emma, but for the family that hung in the balance, tethered to this moment of destruction. Emma, I murmured, my feet finally finding the will to move. I approached her, each step heavy as I fought through a fog of despair. I'm so sorry. She looked up at me, her eyes glistening. Why do these things happen? Her voice quivered, quaking with betrayal and confusion. Why does he have to tear us apart like this? I wanted to scream that I didn't know, that I felt just as lost. Instead, I offered my hand, silently encouraging her to rise. She accepted it with hesitation, and as she stood, I briefly held her gaze, searching for a flicker of hope, a sign that everything could still be mended. But then my brother's voice pierced the air, sharp and unyielding. You think you can just come back after abandoning us? After everything? He stepped forward, eyes ablaze with a mix of hurt and fury. You think I'm the problem? A suffocating silence blanketed the hall once more, tension simmering like an uncontrolled fire about to explode. I could feel every eye on us. Some were sympathetic, others thirsting for drama. Whispers floated like butterflies, lingering in the air. Did she really leave? What happened between them? No, Liam, that's not true. I found myself shouting, my emotions spilling over. It's never been just about you and me. It's about what we've lost together. My heart ached as I watched Emma flinch at the rising tide of animosity between us, a conflict becoming all too familiar. Liam's expression shifted slightly, revealing a crack beneath his hostility. You say that, but you don't know what it's like to be abandoned. I needed you and you just left. I inhaled sharply at the bitter truth of his words. It was the raw pain of a younger brother feeling cast aside, and in his anger, I saw a reflection of my own guilt. I couldn't help but remember the moment I had chosen to leave for college, the day I thought I was pursuing my own dreams, leaving him behind in a small town feeling lost without his big sister. Liam, I said softly, I thought I was doing what was best for us both. I thought if I could build a better future. My heart felt heavy with regret. I didn't realize how lonely it would make you. The required apology hung in the air, desperate to escape my lips, but terms like sorry felt so insufficient for the chasm that divided us. Emma silently watched, and I could barely discern if her tears were for herself, for me, or for the broken bond between brothers. The moment stretched painfully, the tension evident, a taut string ready to snap. Suddenly, a simple but surprising hand landed firmly on my shoulder. It was Sarah, a family friend, her presence warm and grounding. Let's take a moment, shall we? She said gently. Everyone, please, let's calm down. In moments of tempestuous emotion, sometimes kindness could form a lifeline. But just as I felt the atmosphere ease, I caught a glimpse of Emma's downturned face. I think I should go, she said quietly, though her voice trembled with resolve. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Oh, please, I tried to stop her, desperate to impede her retreat. But my brother stepped forward as if guided by an invisible force, gripping her arm gently. Wait, what are you saying? I need to think. Her voice was steady yet fragile. I loved you, Liam, but I won't be a part of this mess. And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving behind echoes of betrayal and grief. My heart sank as the realization washed over me. I hadn't just lost my brother's trust, I was losing Emma too. Liam, we can fix this, I pleaded. We need to talk. We can work through this. His face twisted with agony. You don't get to say that after everything you've done. This is all your fault too. All my fault? You stood by as this. I struggled to find the words as raw emotions surged. This hostility grew. We could have been family, but before I could finish, the doors to the hall swung open. The commotion caught everyone's attention, diverting our focus. And in strode a figure cloaked in dark shadow, the familiarity of their appearance sharp against the glittering backdrop of the room. My breath caught in my throat. It was Mom. Her face was pale, lined with years of sorrow and truths left unsaid. But there was something else, a determination deep in her eyes. She had returned unexpectedly, wearing the weight of years gone by in her eyes. My heart raced as the silence fell once more. My family's past now about to collide with our fragile present, secrets that could break or mend us all hanging in the air. Everyone needs to listen to me, she declared, breaking the tension as if it were made of glass. There's something we need to discuss. And just like that, a new kind of dread crashed over me. What undisclosed truth had Mom been carrying? As the weight of my mother's unexpected presence settled over the hall, a chilling silence wrapped around us, thick and suffocating. Her determination washed over the gathered crowd, filling the air with unspoken tension. I felt the curious gazes of family and friends shift from me and Liam to her, ready for revelation, hungry for illumination. Mom, I whispered, my heart racing, a tempest of emotions brewing within me. My childhood seemed to echo around us, moments spent in her embrace transforming into snapshots of shattered innocence. Why now? I thought. Why did she choose this moment to reclaim her role in our familial chaos? There's something I need to confess, she began, glancing from me to Liam, her voice trembling but resolute. This isn't just about our disconnect as a family. There are layers to the story that you both don't know. What do you mean? Liam's voice cracked, his anger boiling just beneath the surface. What could possibly make this okay? Her gaze softened as she looked into her son's wounded eyes, the very image of his younger self, lost and searching for the affection he had been deprived of. I didn't want to burden you with my past, but it's time you both understood the realities that shaped our family. A knot formed in my stomach as I took a step closer. Mom, we just want to understand why have you stayed silent for so long? She inhaled deeply, her chest expanding as if she were preparing to dive into turbulent waters. Because I thought you needed to find your own way. I didn't want to taint your lives with my mistakes, but I see now that I poisoned our family with my absence. Within those words, I saw echoes of sacrifice and regret that had plagued her for years. Yet, while some glimmers of clarity illuminated the darkness, others rushed back in. I glanced at Liam, who stood rigid, practically vibrating with a mixture of rage and want of that familial reassurance he had been missing for so long. I was young, and I made choices that devastated us. Mom continued, her voice infused with a raw honesty that called for understanding and forgiveness. When your father left, I couldn't cope. I thought leaving would protect you from the mess of adults. I thought distance would make things easier. Her eyes fell on each of us. But it didn't. It only made it worse as her words washed over both Liam and me. I felt Liam's tension begin to dissipate, and a part of me yearned to understand the pain she had chosen to endure alone. I could almost see the pathos unfurling within him. He was still just a boy wanting love from his mother while grappling with betrayal and anger. So what is it that you're trying to say? Liam's voice was quieter now. His anger briefly overshadowed, revealing the cracks in his armor. Is this an excuse for disappearing? For leaving us to fend for ourselves? For splitting this family apart? No, she said earnestly, shaking her head. It's a plea for connection. I've been selfish in thinking I could protect you from my past mistakes. I see how my absence gave rise to your own complications, Mom. It doesn't just end with acknowledgement. I interjected softly, attempting to soothe the emotional storm brewing in the room. Words can only do so much. We need action. We need you. Liam crossed his arms, still battling within himself. So you want us to just forgive and forget? Everything's supposed to be fine now. Forgiveness is a process, and I know it might take time, she replied, her voice cracking under the weight of our collective pain. But I am here now, ready to listen to you. You deserve that. I looked at Liam. I recognized the turbulence behind his darkened gaze. A battle of denial and yearning. He had waited so long for this moment, only to have it drown in the chaos I had failed to contain. Mom, this is not just about you and us, I said, searching for solidarity on the precipice of vulnerability. There are wounds here that go deeper than you realize. You can't just walk back in and expect everything to be healed. But before she could respond, the room itself felt like it was taking a breath, a subtle shift in atmosphere. A soft voice broke through the weighty silence. Excuse me, it said. A woman we'd all known but hadn't seen in years stepped forward, an unexpected flicker of warmth amidst our tumult. I think I have something to add here. Her appearance startled me. It was Mrs. Jenkins, a close family friend who had known us during our most vulnerable years, usually offering light in dark times. Yet today, the heaviness of the moment spoke volumes against her gentle heart. Your family has endured more than perhaps even you know, she began, her voice soothing. And I've stayed silent for far too long. I exchanged glances with Liam and my mother, a wave of collective curiosity promising something both hopeful and challenging. I've seen the impact of your decisions, Judith, she continued, her eyes taking in each of us with compassion. But there are hidden secrets, things I witnessed, choices you made that had cascading effects. A jolt of fear shot through me. What could she possibly reveal now? Mrs. Jenkins met my gaze, her expression somber yet resolute. You need to hear this. Because it may just explain why your paths took the turns they did. My breath quickened as I realized the unsteady ground we all stood upon. A new revelation loomed on the horizon, ready to crash upon us like a wave, with the power to unravel everything we believed. In that moment I understood. The painful unraveling of our past was only just beginning. The truth would either bind us tightly or tear us apart forever. And as the weight of uncertainty hung around us, I braced myself for the storm ahead, knowing that the journey to understand our tangled histories would demand more than any of us were ready to give. The air in the room grew heavy as Mrs. Jenkins' words settled like a dark cloud above us, the impending storm of truth making my heart race. The tension thickened and I felt Liam's presence shift beside me, a taut string on the verge of snapping. What do you mean? My voice trembled with anxiety, betraying the storm of questions swirling in my mind. What can you possibly share that would change anything now? Mrs. Jenkins took a moment, as if fortifying herself for the truth she needed to reveal. There are parts of your mother's story, parts she never intended to share, that shaped not only her choices but the loss you both felt growing up. Liam's brow furrowed with confusion, his fists balled by his sides. I sensed his internal conflict, wrestling with the yearning to know but also to protect the fragile pieces of our family still intact. Judith was faced with decisions that no mother should have to make, Mrs. Jenkins continued, a warmth laced with sorrow infusing her words. And in her attempt to protect you, she inadvertently barricaded herself in shadow. You need to understand that some of these choices were made with an unbearable weight of love and suffering. Liam finally lost the battle, shaking his head vehemently. But all we felt was abandonment. It doesn't make sense to hear this now when it's too late. It just feels like more excuses. The frustration seeped through his voice like venom, and my heart broke for him. Please. I reached for him, desperate for him to understand that the anger was eating away at him. We need to listen. We owe it to ourselves to hear this. Mrs. Jenkins nodded slowly, as though acknowledging Liam's pain and the validity of his feelings. What I witnessed happened well before the day your father left. I kept these secrets to myself, hoping to preserve your family's dignity, but silence has not served you well. What do you mean? Liam snapped, still perched on the edge of rage. There were circumstances surrounding your father's departure that your mother couldn't control, actions fueled by desperation, loss, and betrayal that led to a string of unfortunate choices. She paused again, gauging our reactions. Judith didn't just lose a husband. She lost herself in the process. I felt a pang of empathy surge through me, as though a light was slowly breaking through the dense fog enveloping our family. The revelation of our mother's pain shifted the narrative I had held so fervently, one that cast her as the villain of our childhood. You're saying there was more to this than simply her choosing to walk away? I asked hesitantly, my heart wrestling with newfound possibilities. The silence stretched between us like a taut line of tension, the future fraught with uncertainty. Yes, there was manipulation, and that darkness left Judith no choice but to flee, decision made in moments of despair. It was never about abandoning you, but protecting you. The words hung heavy, a mixture of disbelief and compassion stirring within me. I glanced at my mother, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, while Liam's expression hardened further, as rage and understanding wrestled for dominance. I can't believe this, he spat finally, his heart too raw to process the truth unfolding before us. You mean to tell us that she was a victim too? Yes, Mrs. Jenkins replied, her voice barely a whisper. But that doesn't absolve her from the pain that you've both carried. The scars of absence run deep. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket, a jarring intrusion that shattered the vulnerability that was steadily building in the room. I pulled it out, distracted momentarily by the glowing screen. A message from an unknown number flashed before me. I know the truth about your family. Meet me at the old park tonight, or I will expose everything. A chill ran through me, as if the very air had shifted. My thoughts spiraled, drowning in the implications of this harsh message. It was a threat cloaked beneath the guise of revelation, a strange new piece in the puzzle that had just begun to unfold. No, don't joke about this. Liam shouted, misinterpreting my sudden stillness as defeated acceptance of our circumstances. You can't just walk away and think you can fix this. Do you know what you've done? Liam, please, I began, but the storm had sparked an untamed fire within him. He turned away from me, from our mother, consumed by the anger spiraling like wildfire. Just leave, all of you. I don't need to hear any longer. My heart sank, knowing this wasn't just a rejection of her, but of the fragile threads we had started to weave together as a family. As he retreated further into the storm of his making, I sensed a growing abyss with Mrs. Jenkins' understanding but heavy presence. I felt the tension crackle like static electricity as images of our past flickered through my mind, anguish, anger, disappointment. But through all of this confusion and the tremors of revelation, hope flickered cautiously, whispering that perhaps forgiveness was still within reach, if we dared to face the truth that lurked in the shadows. Suddenly, another message came through, vibrating insistently against my palm. Time is running out. The world fell quiet for a heartbeat, my heart pounding as the gravity settled upon my shoulders, reminding me that more than just the family threads were at stake. A darker current was emerging from the depths of our past, a truth yet to be fully revealed. And as uncertainty hung between us like a fragile spider web, I realized that the road to understanding was riddled with unseen dangers, waiting to reveal secrets that would haunt us in ways we never anticipated. The weight of Liam's words echoed painfully in the silence that followed, wrapping around me like a shroud. I felt helpless as I watched my brother retreat further into his fortress of hurt. His back turned as though to shut out the fragile ties we had only just begun to mend. My heart ached to chase after him, to bridge the chasm that had just widened with every interaction. Yet my feet felt rooted to the floor, paralyzed by a whirlwind of emotion that clamored for expression. Mrs. Jenkins attempted to break through the thick wall of despair that enveloped us. Your mother loved you both so deeply, but she was lost in her own world, she said quietly, her voice a lifeline in the emotional storm. Understanding that will help you heal, but it requires you to face your own pain first. That I need to go to him, I finally said, summoning the strength I didn't know I possessed. Wait, she said, her hand reaching out to catch my arm gently. The message you received, it might be connected to everything we've discussed. You need to know what you're facing, and you should consider if now is the right time. No. I shook my head, my resolve hardening. I can't let him go like this. I can't lose him too. With that, I tore myself away from the room and into the hall, propelled by a strange blend of fear and determination. As I rushed down the corridor, every step felt heavier, laden with anticipation and dread, the message still flashing in my mind like a warning beacon. Don't let it distract you, I whispered to myself, clinging to the hope that I could reconcile with Liam before whatever darkness awaited us crept further into our lives. I finally found him on the balcony, staring off into the distance, the sun setting in a vivid tapestry of colors that seemed to mock the turmoil brewing in his heart. He didn't turn around when I stepped outside, and I debated giving him the space he obviously craved. But I couldn't sit idle while I watched him implode. Liam, I called softly, attempting to infuse my voice with a sense of calm. He turned slowly, smoldering anger visible in his features, a storm still raging beneath the surface. You really think chasing after me is going to change anything? Nothing makes sense, Anna. Nothing. I know, but we can't just keep ignoring each other like this, I implored, my chest tightening as I fought back my own tears. We have to face it together. Please. For a moment, I saw the flicker of something in his eyes, a glimmer of acknowledgement buried beneath layers of pain. You think facing it will somehow make it better? Mom's gone. Dad's gone. What more is there to face? Are you listening to yourself? I urged, stepping closer. We can't let bitterness consume us. We need to figure this out, not just for her but for us. We might still have a chance to heal. He took a deep breath, looking torn as he ran a hand through his hair, the tension palpable in the chilly evening air. You don't get it, he said, his voice strained. Maybe she was a victim, but we've been victims too. And this idea that we can somehow fix everything? It's a fantasy. I don't want to fix everything in a day. Liam, I replied, frustration creeping into my tone. I just want us to start talking. I thought we were beginning to understand each other back there, and then you what? He interrupted, unleashing the torrent of his emotions. You thought you could just wave a magic wand and make the past disappear? You think Mrs. Jenkins' words solve everything? No. My voice cracked, tears pooling in my eyes. But they make us see who we are, who she was. It's a thread we can follow, a pathway to something more than anger. As silence settled between us, I saw the conflict sifting through his expression. It was a silent battle that needed no words. We were both caught in a web of family grief, unable to fully wrest ourselves free of what had been said and what lay unsaid. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed yet again, resonating loudly against the backdrop of our conversation. I fished it out, the dread encompassing me. The unknown number glared back. Time's running out. They will expose the truth. Unless you show up. The message felt like ice water poured directly into my veins. Liam, you have to see this, I urged, turning the phone towards him. His eyes scanned the screen, narrowing as he absorbed every word. What the hell? He murmured, the anger momentarily eclipsed by confusion. Who is this? I don't know, I admitted, anxiety bubbling within me. But if they're threatening to expose something connected to Mom and Dad, we have to figure out what they want. The fight in his eyes began to flicker out, the anger dissipating into something more akin to disbelief. What if they're lying? What if this is just another way to drag us deeper into this mess? We can't take that risk, I insisted, my heart racing. The prospect of exposing our family's dirty laundry was a knife perched over the edge, ready to plunge down. Whatever it is, it's better we uncover it together before they twist the narrative. Liam studied me for what felt like an eternity, the wall around his heart beginning to fracture. Then he exhaled a heavy breath, one that seemed to carry the weight of years. Fine, but I'm only doing this because I can't let them hurt you. He agreed grudgingly, the promise laced with tension. As we stood there, on the precipice of another journey, hope sparkled dimly in the twilight sky. Yet fear lingered, a murky ground beneath our tentative steps. Together we would step into the impending shadows, united by familial bonds but separated by the haunting secrets still forged in silence. As we turned to leave the balcony, I felt a creeping sense of impending dread settling in. Would we be ready for whatever awaited us? The possibility of past pain erupting anew loomed with each soft footfall, and as I stepped off the edge of clarity, I braced myself for the truth waiting in the darkness. The days that followed blurred together, each moment stitched with anxiety and a vague sense of urgency. Liam and I had slipped into a rhythm of quiet investigation, our conversations punctuated by investigative phone calls and late-night research. Every question we pursued only seemed to deepen the shadows of our family history. The message hung over us like a storm cloud, amplifying tension in our already fragile dynamic. Each interaction with Liam was laden with unspoken words, our earlier fights lodged in the crevices of our hearts. Yet there were small moments, brief exchanges of humor on sleepless nights, or sharing a bewildering piece of new information over breakfast that reminded me we were still connected beneath the surface. One evening, nearly a week after Wed decided to dig deeper, we sat on the worn couch in the living room, the same one our mother used to curl up on, her favorite book resting often upon her lap. With the television flickering in the background, illuminating the room in a dimmed glow, I felt that familiar pang of nostalgia mixed with grief. "Do you remember those times you used to help me with my homework?" I asked suddenly, watching his face transform from concentration to amusement. "Like that math assignment where we wound up having a pillow fight instead of studying?" Liam chuckled with a warmth that felt foreign yet comforting. "Yeah, I remember throwing a pillow at you and then Mom walking in to find us making a mess. She didn't even scold us, just laughed. And then we ended up having cookies for dinner," I added, smiling as the memories swirled, bittersweet and full. The laughter faded, leaving a palpable silence and a wistfulness that sat heavy in the air. "I wish we could go back to those times, you know?" He sighed, his gaze turned inward. "We can't. But we can make new memories," I offered softly, my heart heavy but hopeful at the same time. "What if we actually face the truth together? Whatever it is we can't hide anymore." His brow furrowed, but before he could dismiss my suggestion, the loud buzz of my phone cut through the atmosphere. The screen lit up once more with the ominous message from the unknown number, demanding my immediate attention. "Meet me at the rendezvous point. Midnight. The truth is waiting." That a chill slithered through my veins, an unsettling twist in my stomach. "Liam," I uttered, my voice unraveling like fragile thread. "They want me to meet them." "What? No way. Anna, that's too dangerous," he exclaimed, his expression shifting from curious concern to outright alarmed. "I have to go," I insisted, shaking off the icy grip of hesitation. "This could be the key to everything we've been searching for. I can't let fear dictate our lives anymore." "Fear is there for a reason," he shot back. "What if this is a trap? What if they're trying to separate us or hurt you?" His eyes blazed with protective fury, revealing more of the deep-seated worries he had buried beneath anger. I took a breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Then I'll be careful. I'll text you updates. But I need to do this for both of us. And you can't stop me." For a moment he looked torn, a battleground of protective instinct clashing against the understanding of my determination. "Fine. But I'm going with you," he finally relented. Apprehension and warmth mingled within me as I regarded my brother. "You can't just waltz in there if it's dangerous," I countered, the cautious part of me wrestling against the surge of gratitude for his willingness to stand beside me. "I'm not letting you go alone. For once, stop trying to be the brave one," he insisted, completing the shift in tension from quiet banter to resolve. Just before midnight we headed out, the chill in the air biting at our skin as we made our way to the appointed place, a forgotten park at the edge of town, bathed in shadow and mystery. Anxiety twisted at my insides as we approached, my heart thumping wildly. Every sound echoed ominously as we stepped under the flickering streetlights, illuminating patches of the empty ground around us. Stay close to me, Liam whispered, and I nodded, grateful for the rare moment of unity. Minutes stretched painfully as we waited, the anticipation coiling tighter. Finally, as the clock struck midnight, a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette forming against the backdrop of the moonlight, stepping forward with slow certainty. "It's about time you two showed up," the figure said, voice smooth yet laced with a disquieting familiarity. As he stepped into the light, my breath caught in my throat. "Daniel?" Liam and I exchanged glances of disbelief, horror spiraling within me. Danielle, a childhood friend turned estranged after our mother's passing, had been the last person I ever expected to see, and the last person who could provide answers. "What are you doing here?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling around my heart as disbelief mingled with hesitant hope. "Let's just say I know things about your family that you might want to hear," he replied, a knowing gleam in his eyes. "And it might change everything." Why had he chosen this moment? Why now, when the weight of the past loomed so heavily over us? Before I could posit the question, I felt the intensity of Liam's grip on my arm tighten, a grounding reminder that though the truth could shatter us, we were in this together for better or worse. But with Daniel standing before us, the stakes had been raised, and as the tendrils of our family's buried secrets began to unfurl, I couldn't shake the sense that we were standing on the precipice of something immense, something we'd never be able to return from. The air was thick with tension, an electric hum that coursed through me as I stared at Daniel, memories dancing at the edges of my mind like shadows refusing to fade. Time between us had twisted, contorting the bond we once shared into something unrecognizable. I could feel Liam shift beside me, his unease palpable. This was not the reunion we'd imagined as children. "Daniel," I breathed out, choking on the memories of innocence and summers spent playing beneath the sun. "Why now? After all these years?" He stepped closer, the moonlight illuminating his face, and I could see the wear etched around his eyes. "Because," he said slowly, "the message you received, it's only the beginning. You don't know the full story, not yet. You're being led into something much bigger than you realize." Bigger. It echoed in my mind, filling the space between us with unspoken truths and unprocessed pain. "What do you mean?" I pressed, my voice trembling between hope and despair. "What happened to our family after everything?" Liam's grip tightened around my arm further, a silent plea for caution that mirrored my own apprehensions. "Anna, let's just walk away." "This isn't right," he urged, his eyes darting anxiously between Daniel and the darkness surrounding us. "No," I replied firmly, determination flaring in my chest. "We need to hear him out, Liam." "If there's a chance." "A chance for what?" Liam interrupted, letting his frustration rise to the surface. "A chance to uncover lies wrapped in more lies? Maybe what you think you want to know should remain buried." His words cut deep, spiking my anger, igniting a spark of argument I had hoped to avoid. "It's not just about what I want. This is about our history, our mother," I shot back, hurt reflected in my voice. "You're afraid, but so am I. Don't act like you have the right to make this decision for both of us." Daniel watched us, tension seemingly feeding from our conflicting emotions. "You both need to listen," he interjected, a sense of urgency in his tone. "I didn't come here to assault the past. I came because I know things that could alter your understanding of what happened. Shadows linger over your mother's final years." Andy flinched, feeling the heartache rising in my throat. "What do you mean? What about her final years?" "Everything," he started, his voice smoothing out as if wrestling with how much he could divulge without overwhelming us. "There were people who didn't want certain truths to come to light, hidden connections that extend beyond just your family. It's more dangerous than you realize." "What are you talking about?" Liam shouted suddenly, his emotional barrier cracking. "If this is about some conspiracy job you've concocted," I shouted, my voice sharp enough to cut through the chill, "we can't dismiss him. Not when we're standing on a knife's edge." And while part of me wished to cower beneath the blanket of ignorance, the other half was desperate for illumination. "Fine." Liam took a step back, breathing heavily, the tension thickening in the space between us. "But don't expect me to just let you go blindly into whatever monstrous mess this leads to, Anna." Daniel's expression transformed, the urgency replaced by somberness. "Please just come with me. There's a place we need to go. I'll show you the truth. You'll understand the choices you have to make." "Choices?" My mind whirled. Isn't uncovering the truth about our family already a choice? Yes, and it's one that will change everything. He looked at Liam, then at me again, something heavy weighing in his gaze. But be prepared. The truth doesn't always lead you to where you think you want to go. I felt as if the ground beneath us was shifting, threatening to swallow us whole. Yet amidst the swirling emotions, I caught a glimpse of something more, a flicker of hope perhaps. Can we trust you? I asked bluntly, wanting to gauge his sincerity but fighting to keep the fear from infusing my voice. You're the ones who need to decide that, he replied enigmatically, a cryptic smile playing at the corners of his lips. But if you don't come with me now, you might lose your chance forever. Liam looked at me, the storm brewing visibly within his eyes. Anna, just then, a flicker of movement caught my attention from the shadows behind Daniel. My heart sank. My instinct screamed that we weren't alone. Liam, I whispered, feeling the dread coil deep within me. Before we could react, two more figures stepped into the dim light, their expressions shrouded in mystery. I couldn't discern their intent, but the sense of danger thrumming in the air grew heavier, and the chessboard of our fragile lives felt as if it had just begun to unravel. Enough games, one of them said, voice low and menacing. You've come too far. It's time to pay the price for knowledge. In that moment, the urgency twisted into something far more ominous. With the weight of unresolved pain and the specter of danger looming over us, it became clear this was no longer just a search for truth, but a descent into a darkness we might not escape. As my heart raced and the edges of my vision blurred with fear, I grasped at the fragile thread of hope. Whatever was coming, I couldn't turn back now. The choices ahead would demand everything I had, unraveling the ties that bound us to the past. And as Daniel standing before us, doubt whispered, how much of our history would we be prepared to confront before it consumed us whole? The chill in the air wrapped around us like an unwanted cloak as Daniel's eyes locked onto the newcomers. The deeper shadows now cascaded ominously, casting elongated silhouettes that twisted and stretched like living specters of our past. My heart pounded in rhythm with the crashing waves of fear surging through me, and I felt Liam's tension radiating beside me, a silent compass steering us toward a path we didn't want to tread. Who are they? I managed to whisper, barely breaking the silence that had fallen around us like a leaden curtain. Just people who want to guard the secrets, Daniel said, his voice sharp but tinged with urgency. They're here to intimidate, to protect something very precious to them. Or to protect themselves. Liam shot back, eyes narrowed, his protective instincts kicking in full force. Anna, I think we should know, I interrupted, my voice steady as I faced the darkness that loomed ahead. I need to know. We need to know. The tension between Daniel and the new figures morphed into an electric standoff, a tableau of unresolved emotions painted against a backdrop of fear. You're making a mistake, one of them sneered, the corner of their mouth twisting into a dark grin. It would be wise to walk away while you can. Walk away. I echoed, my voice rising in defiance. For too long, I've been walking in the dark, turning away from the questions that haunt me. I'm not afraid anymore. Not of you. Liam's grip tightened around my arm again, pulling me back slightly, as if he hoped to shield me from an unseen blow. This is insane, Anna. You don't know what they are capable of. We could end up knowing the truth, I shot back, resolute, catching the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Don't you want that? Before he could respond, Daniel stepped forward. They won't let you through without a price. You need to decide what you're willing to sacrifice for the truth, Anna. What do you mean? I felt my heart heavy with the weight of his words, unsure whether to feel encouraged by his steadfastness or frightened by the implications. You know how much the past can chain you, Daniel said, his tone filled with a depth of understanding that resonated too closely with my own distance from my past. And the past, it has a way of exacting its toll, but I refuse to be held captive by it any longer, I declared, a surge of courage igniting within me. I turned to Liam, desperation filling the gaps of my fierce resolve. We have to take this risk, Liam. We can't back away from the truth. Not now. In that case, one of the figures from the shadows interrupted, breaking the swirling tension. We can make this a little more interesting. A game. Knowledge for knowledge. What sort of game? Daniel interjected, his brow furrowing deeply. Old truths for new lies. You tell us something you know, something you genuinely fear, and we will reveal a secret that will change how you see your family. The proposition hung heavy in the air, filled with temptation and dread. My instincts screamed, but curiosity tugged equally hard. I could feel the others watching, all eyes on me as if I were the lone piece on a chessboard, caught in a gamble of fates. Did you owe it? Anna, Liam urged, voice a strained whisper, a pleading look etched across his features. This is dangerous territory. You don't have to play their game. No one can sacrifice for you more than yourself, Daniel murmured, an echo of conviction that pushed me closer to the ledge. If you can consider that, this might be our chance. And with that, my mind raced. What did I fear most? I had buried so many feelings: deep anger, loss, regret. There was something darker, to a truth I had never dared to acknowledge, that gnawed at my insides. But what would I tell them? Was this the moment to lay bare the wounds I had concealed for so long? I fear uncovering a truth that will fracture everything I hold dear, I found myself saying, as if the decision was weaving itself from the very fabric of my soul. I fear that love might not have been enough to keep us whole. The darkness shifted, and the figures responded with fleeting glances of intrigue and amusement. Courage, it seems, is the river you are willing to cross. So shall we bury you deeper in the dark. All at once the air thickened, the pressure mounting as a second figure stepped forward, a woman, cloaked in shadows but with fierce, piercing eyes. You see, Anna, the truth you seek is closer than you think. It hides in the reflection of those you love most. It wears their faces, and it speaks the words they never dared to share. I blinked, words like daggers lodged painfully in my throat. What are you talking about? Pay attention. Your mother had secrets that intersect with lives you cherish. The weight of the declaration settled over me like a shroud, clutching at my heart. And it's time for you to realize that the path toward truth leads through paths much darker than you're prepared for. Panic surging through me, the reality of her words pressed against my chest. What could be worse than digging into our family's history, revealing the things we once cherished? A shrill laugh split the air, resonating through the dead silence, and I stepped back, fear tightening its grip. There's a lot more at stake here, Anna, Daniel insisted. We have to move. Now. But the spotlight burned brighter on me with each second dragged on. I was caught between the reality of what I feared and the fragmented hope that dared me to step forward, to learn what I'd yet to face. As I contemplated the ominous web now closing in around us, the words of the cloaked figure ricocheted through my thoughts: truth, history, those we love. What if the darkest secret was not meant to be unlocked? Or worse, what if it shattered everything? And before I could process any of it, a distant siren wailed, echoing like a bell tolling for the decisions we continued to dodge. In that electrifying moment, I knew that whatever path I chose, I had forged ahead into a labyrinthine darkness that would change everything, and there would be no turning back. With a shiver running down my spine, the ground shifted beneath my feet, and I could feel the precipice drawing near. Time seemed to halt as reality closed around us like a vice. There was no easy way out, and I had unknowingly crossed far beyond the point of no return. The secrets waiting in the shadows beckoned us forward, but I couldn't shake the dread settling in my gut. And then, just as suddenly as it began, a flash of light erupted above, illuminating the night sky with a blinding glow, casting everything into stark relief. And as I looked around, I realized just as quickly that I might already have lost the most critical piece of the puzzle. The name lingered on my lips, just as haunting as the shadows surrounding us. Mom. The whisper broke free as a truth hung in the air, too potent to ignore. Would I be ready for the answer, or was I prepared to shatter completely? The weight of that name lingered, suspended in the night air like a spell that had the power to unravel everything I thought I knew. Mom. The word fell from my lips, heavy and fragile, as if it were a bird set free from its cage but unsure of where to fly. Yes, the woman in shadows replied, her voice smooth and chilling, carrying the ghostly echoes of abandoned memories. Your mother's legacy is more entangled than you are prepared to face. What she hid may redefine your very understanding of family. I felt Liam stiffen beside me, his hand tightening on my arm as the unexpected truth began to settle like a fog in the pit of my stomach. In his eyes I saw a reflection of my own dread, a shared worry about the road we were beginning to traverse. Daniel, however, remained steadfast, his expression resolute yet betraying a flicker of concern. Anna, we have to push past this. If there's truth painful enough to shatter us, then perhaps it is also potent enough to heal. His words clung to me like a lifebuoy tossed into a stormy sea. But healing often begged a question that felt far too dangerous to voice. Was the truth worth the agony it might unleash? The cloaked figure took a step closer, her eyes glinting like shards of ice. You've already entered this web of secrets, Anna. It's woven through every member of your family, bound by love but marred by betrayal. You only need to follow the thread back far enough and you will find everything you've longed for, along with nightmares left unspoken. Enough, Liam interjected, his voice a protective barrier against the darkness encroaching upon us. Whatever this is, it can't be worth the pain you're promising. Sometimes ignorance is a blessing. Not when it eats you alive from the inside, Daniel replied gently, but I could see the tension in his muscles, the barely contained urge to forge ahead. The void between my heartbeat drums echoed. A torrent of emotion surged within me: fear, guilt, curiosity. What did my mother conceal? What darkness did she harbor that could shake the very foundation of our family? Just then, the light from the distant siren flickered again, illuminating our surroundings. I caught glimpses of fear etched across my friends' faces, reflections of what lay before us: a battle to confront the unthinkable or retreat into silence. Listen, I said, my voice calmer than I felt. I refused to run away anymore. I can't ignore the need to understand what I've lost. I was surprised to feel a spark of determination coursing through me amidst the chaos, that a ripple of unease traveled through the group. The cloaked woman smiled, an expression that was far from reassuring. Then you must choose. We can unravel the depths of your history together, or let the shadows consume you. Liam shook his head vehemently. Anna, don't do this, but I must. The fire in my chest flared as I interrupted him. Who I am is built on the truth of my past, Liam. If it breaks me, then I will rebuild. My voice broke slightly as I added, I just want to understand her. There was silence, filled only by the distant crashing of waves against the shore, and that siren now fading into the background. I could sense a collective breath being held, the gravity of my decision weighing heavily on us as I wrestled with my own racing heart. Very well, then, the woman said, brokering the deal I could hardly comprehend. But know this, what you uncover may reveal more than you bargained for. Once the door is pushed open, the echoes of the past may call for more sacrifices than you're willing to pay. I felt the ground shift beneath me, and a familiar warmth bubbled to the surface, a gnawing sense of hope, wrapped in the challenge ahead. Tell me what I need to do. As the shadows around us pulsed and withdrew, the world seemed to narrow to a point, a singular focus locked on the truth bending toward me. The cloaked figure extended a hand, beckoning me into the void filled with uncertainty. Before I could follow, a startling voice echoed like thunder in the night. Anna, wait! I turned, heart racing wildly, to see a shape rushing toward us, someone emerging from a strand of dim light skirting the edge of our gathering. As the person drew nearer, my heart stuttered, and my skin went cold. It was Mark, me brother. His face twisted in desperation, regret distorting his features. You can't do this. Please. His voice broke, cracking like glass, and the sight of his apparent panic stirred a maelstrom of conflicting emotions inside me. What are you doing here? I demanded, my voice rising, almost accusatory. I had to try to stop you. His expression faltered, and I saw the twist of guilt gnawing at him. What you're about to learn could tear us apart. You don't know everything, Anna. You don't understand what it cost her to keep it hidden. His words hung in the air, heavy with unexplored pain. Suddenly an icy fear twisted in my gut once more, coiling tighter with every heartbeat. What do you mean? I whispered, the truth of his implication slowly dawning on me like the creeping shadows surrounding us. Mark hesitated, a pained flicker passing through his eyes. I can't explain everything here, but you need to trust me, and we don't know where this path will lead. And if you open that door, you may lose the family you fought so hard to protect. His voice trembled with emotion that threaded a painful connection through the air. And in that moment, as the cloaked woman watched with barely concealed glee, I was reminded that the stakes were rising. To know the truth might endanger those I held closest. Caught in this web of choices, I felt the weight of every secret that lay waiting. My heart was torn, knowing I stood at the precipice of something that could either liberate me or shatter everything I loved into irretrievable shards. Damn it, Anna, think. Mark's words echoed the darkness clawing at the edges of my resolve. As the moment stretched painfully, reality hung precariously in the balance, threatening to slip away with the slightest misstep. The consequences were far greater than I'd anticipated, and as the tension thickened around us, I knew we were standing on a thin edge of uncertainty, teetering between two fates, one cloaked in danger and the other draped in the delicate threads of family, forever altered by the shadows of our past. I stood at the crossroads of secrets and vulnerability, with Mark's panicked expression illuminating the grit of my tumultuous thoughts. I could feel the weight of his warning reverberate in the air, a tangible barrier standing between me and the truth I so desperately desired. But how could I walk away when it seemed so close, when understanding my mother, our family's burdens, lay just beyond my reach? Anna, please, Mark pleaded, his voice low and urgent, I'm begging you to think this through. You don't know the ramifications of what could unfold. His eyes were desperate but filled with the love of a brother, who had also stood witness to the jagged edges of our childhood. I felt my heart slip into turmoil as I searched his gaze, hoping for clarity but only finding the trepidation that mirrored my own. But as the cloaked woman loomed closer, shadows curling around her like dark whispers, I felt the pulse of resolve within me surge. But I want to understand, I cried, conviction shooting through my words, and the very act of voicing my desire ignited a flicker of defiance. All this time we've been drowning in obscurity. I can't let fear dictate my life any longer. Drowning? Liam interjected sharply, frustration etched across his face. You don't even see what's happening here. We're flirting with danger. He turned to Mark, his voice a dangerous growl. If one bit of what she said is true, then we could be playing with fire. Exactly, Mark exclaimed, stepping towards us, urgency infecting his tone. You don't know what visiting the past could revive. Our mother made sacrifices to shield us from this. Please, let's not invoke the very shadows that haunted her. His voice softened on that last note, layers of unvoiced memories whispering between us, but I felt as though I had reached a precipice, and the darkness from which I had been fleeing beckoned invitingly. There was beauty to be unearthed, healing I couldn't ignore. And what if I don't want to be blind to it anymore? I retorted, the fight strong within me. What if I think facing it can finally bring us peace? The cloaked woman watched, an amused glint in her piercing eyes. You are brave, girl, she said, her voice both intoxicating and dangerous and foolish. Decisions come with a price, and yours may well be steep. Enough with the theatrics. Liam shot back, stepping protectively in front of me, which only amplified the swelling tension. You think we're going to gamble with our lives over this charade? What gives you the right to claim truth? How can we trust you? Trust, the woman repeated, a sly smile spreading across her face. Trust is built on belief, on knowing that sometimes truth wears a mask, and the living are often more lost than the dead. But if you want the heart of your mother's whispers, the truth behind the fabric of your lives, then it will cost you. Mark's eyes shifted nervously, disapproval etched into his features. Anna, let's go. This isn't worth the risk. Whatever she offers isn't worth our family being torn apart further. But I could feel the pull of the unknown, the vibrant thread of connection weaving with the fabric of my past. As the shadowy figure stood before me, I felt the silence of uncharted territory beckoning like a siren's call. I need to do this, I urged, swallowing uncertainty. This is how we can finally heal. Seeing Mark's worn expression only fortified my resolve. You spent so long hiding yourself away. I love you, but I need to understand where we come from, I whispered, taking a step towards him. And maybe the truth will finally set us free. An echo of hesitation flickered across his features before he reluctantly nodded, pain lining his eyes. If you're going to do this, then I'll stand by you. But promise me we approach this as family. Whatever we find, we face it together. Together, I affirmed, my voice trembling as dread and determination twined. I turned back to the woman, whose grin widened in recognition. I wish to know the truth. I want to wield what may fracture us as power to reshape our future. Then let's begin, she murmured, extending her hand toward me. But no tea-sit may unravel the very ties that bind you. As my fingers laced with hers, I felt a strange warmth bloom through me. It was an invitation to dive deeper into the labyrinth of my past, the promise of breaking free from chains forged in silence. Surrounded by worry and concern, I steeled myself as whispers of childhood laughter and memories bled through the shadows, pulling me inward. With Mark close by, I stepped beyond the threshold into a world of stories untold, a place where love and pain coalesced into a tapestry woven from sacrifice and echoes of betrayal. The gravity of our choices weighed heavily upon us, and it was there, in that darkness, that we faced the embers of healing amidst secrets waiting to unfurl. Each heartbeat echoed like a promise, reminding me that I was not defined solely by the past, but by how I faced it and what it meant for the future. As the shadows closed in and the truths began to rise, I felt a quiet strength blossom within. That family, in all its complexity, forged a bond stronger than any darkness. And even with uncertainty looming over us, I knew one undeniable truth: I was finally ready to reclaim my story. And as the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, I vowed to face whatever came next with an open heart, knowing deep down that our journey was far from over, yet just beginning. The last words I whispered into the dawn felt like a heartbeat, resonating with hope. Together we will rise.